Good evening, and thank you for joining us for our Labor Day half-hour news. As a way to celebrate the achievements of union workers over the past year, the Thunder Bay and District Labor Council hosted its annual picnic earlier this afternoon. The Labor Day weekend tradition gathered community members together to reflect on the wins, along with acknowledge the challenges faced this year. Jessica Clement reports.
The sun was shining for the Thunder Bay and District Labor Council's annual Labor Day picnic, which brought hundreds of labor workers, families, and community members to Current River Park on Monday to celebrate the achievements of union workers over the past year.
The most significant win happened at a federal level with the federal NDP, with the support of all the parties in the House, passed an anti-SCAV legislation that's going to bring stability to the labor. Less disruption, less problem with picket line, less problem with the SCAV trying to cross picket line. We want to see stability, less disruption in the workplace, and less our laws, so our economy is going to take off.
Thunder Bay and District Labor Council President Carlos Santander Maturana says the picnic is a long-standing tradition that not only lets them reflect on past wins, but also gives them the chance to acknowledge previous challenges and focus on the future. He says this year, tough collective bargaining negotiations are on the minds of unions affiliated with the Labour Council.
In Ontario in particular, there is a history of the current government forcing back-to-work legislation, knowing well that it's only going to take a year or two before the court decides that the union were on the right, because he's trampling on the Charter of Rights and the freedom of association, who protect free collective bargaining process in Ontario and in Canada.
The Labor Day picnic is expected to see around 1,800 to 2,000 people this year to enjoy the food, pony rides, and a musical performance by Rodney Brown.
Black fly, little black fly, always black fly no matter where you go.
Santander Maturana says it's beautiful to be able to see so much support from the community.
Even if you are not partaking in the picnic, we can see the number of people who are going through Cumberland Street, honking their cars, waving, and ensuring that we are online with their system of beliefs.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Fire Rescue provided a quick response to a structural fire this morning in the 100 block of North Herald Street. 6 pumpers, an aerial ladder, and a command vehicle arrived at around 11:43 a.m. after a family member who was already outside of the home heard a smoke detector alarming. The fire crews were able to quickly extinguish the fire, limiting its spread to the room of origin on the 2nd floor. No injuries were reported. Thunder Bay Fire Rescue reminds residents of the importance of having working smoke detectors on all levels of a home. Officials with Student Transportation Services says they're finally seeing some improvements after years of school bus driver shortages. There are 159 bus routes in Thunder Bay covering 492 runs. The bus companies ideally would have enough drivers to cover all routes plus backup drivers, but it's been tougher to hire drivers after the pandemic. 2023's school year started with numerous bus route cancellations, which continued throughout the year. Student Transportation Services Manager Craig Murphy says he's feeling more optimistic for this school year as the bus operators have made good progress recruiting and training drivers this summer.
We contract 2 different bus companies to provide the service, and both companies are reporting to us so far that they have drivers for all our routes this year.
The first day of school for most students in Thunder Bay is this Wednesday, September the 4th. The discussion about possibly changing the size and makeup of City Council continues. The Council Composition Committee will be meeting tomorrow to discuss redrawing ward lines.
Administration back in June to come back with some options about what ward boundary reconfiguration would look like. We asked them to make population disparity priority, making sure that the wards are as close to parity as possible, making sure that configurations as far as neighborhood character, various intersections and thoroughfares are considered.
Vice Chair Cody Fraser says this doesn't mean at-large representation is off the table, with a hybrid model or solely at-large system still very possible. When it comes to the redrawing of wards, the committee will be discussing a number of options. That'll include the current 7-ward system or new options with 10, 8, or 5 wards. Fraser served as the Niebing counselor in the past and says the current boundaries bring challenges.
We have a less population than the rest, but there's also very unique issues. So I'm not necessarily saying that I wouldn't support an all-at-large system, but certainly right now I'm certainly leaning towards a ward system. We see around the region, around the province, most of the places are ward systems. It definitely helps, especially in a larger center like Thunder Bay, where you have a division of Fort William and Port Arthur, which, I mean, it's been amalgamated for a long time, but there still is that divide.
After Tuesday's discussion, the public will have more opportunities for consultation on the makeup of City Council. It all leads up to the committee ultimately bringing forward a recommendation to Council in the new year. A refugee program in Atikokan has seen dozens of Ukrainians relocate there after fleeing the violence back home. We caught up with one family to see how they've been settling in. Lee Noonan has this report.
As the Russian invasion of Ukraine drove more and more people to flee their homes there, Resolute Forest Products and the Atikokan Economic Development Corporation teamed up to bring some of those refugees to Atikokan and set them up with work at the mill. Alex Bakal is one of those refugees.
Grandma is still in Ukraine, and unfortunately all of my grandma passed away in April, and we was unable to going and see her, because the distance, because the war.
Alex came to Atikokan a year and a half ago and was joined by his parents and younger sister Nicoletta last summer. Alex started out working at the mill, and his mother Valentina still works there. He's now putting his economics background to use at the AEDC. They're supporting his father Ivan, who can't work anymore, and 16-year-old Nicoletta, who just finished her grade 10 here.
At the beginning, it was a little bit hard because of my English, my language barrier. But with the time, when I get used to it, it went pretty well, yeah.
Nicoletta spent years studying art back home, and although there are no art classes for her to take in Atikokan, she's committed to her craft and says her teachers have been very supportive, even helping her get her paintings shown at a group exhibit of high school art at the Thunder Bay Art Gallery.
It was such a great feeling when you walk in and you see all your paintings there. And there were some people that were watching at them and they were describing and saying how amazing this art is. I was feeling just, whoa, that's so great. That's an amazing feeling.
The Bakal family are among roughly 80 Ukrainian refugees the AEDC estimates are now living in and around Atikokan. Having a good number of compatriots in one place has made it easier to adjust, according to Alex.
It's help everybody just to feel more comfortable, because when you're coming in a new place and you're just alone, it's about habits, it's about traditionals, it's about some rules, what are you comfortable with.
While Valentina and Ivan don't speak much English, they have no trouble communicating how proud they are of the success their children have found here in Canada. And both siblings say Atikokan is starting to feel like a second home. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
A popular Labor Day weekend tradition brought thousands out to the village of Heimers to celebrate the area's agricultural roots. The 112th Heimers Fall Fair gave visitors a glimpse into the country lifestyle with horse and cattle shows, exhibits, and a vendor market. Jessica Clement reports.
For over 100 years, the Heimers Fall Fair gave area residents the chance to celebrate the beginning of autumn and local agricultural life, and this year was no different. Hundreds made their way to Heimers this weekend to experience everything the fair had to offer, including the horse and cattle shows, livestock showcases, exhibits, and a vendor market, which gave local businesses the chance to sell their products.
We are a true blue, down-to-earth agricultural fair. We don't have the rides, the beer gardens, all that. We have agriculture. We have animals. We have, people selling their vegetables, their pies and baked goods and canning, and yeah, it's just a really family-type feel.
Heimers Agricultural Society President Aaron LaForest says along with the shows and exhibits, the fair also had a packed schedule of entertainment on the main stage
I've got a beautiful feeling.
And the hilltop stage.
Freeze out, 1, 2, 3, heel, toe, heel, turn.
LaForest is expecting to see around 8,000 people visit the fairgrounds. noting the event is a Labor Day weekend tradition for many families. She adds that the event takes all year to plan, but says it's worth it to see everyone come out.
It's really warms my heart to see everybody come together to support the fair, to just attend the fair, the volunteers, I couldn't ask for better teamwork with my volunteers. Everybody really steps up to the plate and works together.
We asked some attendees what they love most about the country fair.
There's so many fun things to do, and you get to see people show a lot of animals, so that's really cool.
My favorite part is probably to just I like her animals the most because I get to pet them a lot and give them treats. So
I think it's important for the community to be able to allow people to have an opportunity of seeing what they're growing on their farm, the crops that they have, and the animals that they raise. And it's great for the kids, that don't get to see this kind of lifestyle, come out and visit and get a chance of checking it out as well.
Jessica Clement, TBT News.
We're now joined by sports anchor Josh Morano. And Josh, it's always so great to see so many people having fun during the transition of one season to another.
Speaking of seasons, we're getting close to the hockey season starting. In SIJHL action yesterday at the pond, the Walleye dipping their toes back in the old river there. We'll have more from that when we come back.